Take a second to look at your smartphone sitting on the table next to you. To you, it's a portal to the world, a way to check your emails, scroll through social media, and navigate to the nearest coffee shop. But to a very specific group of people sitting in windowless buildings in Maryland, London, or Beijing, that device is the most perfect tracking beacon ever invented. It's a microphone that never truly turns off, a camera that can be activated from halfway across the globe, and a historical record of every single thought you've ever typed into a search engine. We like to think of government surveillance as something out of a Cold War spy novel, men in trench coats tailing a car through a rainy city. But the reality of the 21st century is far more digital, far more invisible, and infinitely more encompassing. Over the last 2 decades, whistleblowers and accidental data leaks have pulled back the curtain on a series of programs so ambitious they make George Orwell's 1984 look like a lack of imagination. We are talking about the systematic vacuuming of the entire planet's communications, the ability to predict your movements before you even make them, and the hacking of the very infrastructure of the internet itself. Today, we are deep diving into the most terrifying government surveillance programs ever revealed. We are moving past the rumors to look at the cold, hard code and the official documents that prove the eye in the sky isn't a myth. It's a multi-billion-dollar reality that you are participating in every single second. We have to begin with the program that changed everything, the one that proved the conspiracy theorists were actually underselling the truth. PRISM. When Edward Snowden walked out of an NSA facility in Hawaii with a thumb drive full of classified documents in 2013, the world learned that the United States government had a direct line into the servers of the biggest tech giants on Earth. We are talking about Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Paltalk, YouTube, Skype, AOL, and Apple. PRISM wasn't just about intercepting data as it traveled across the web. It was about the NSA having the ability to reach directly into the databases of these companies to pull out emails, chat logs, stored photos, and file transfers. For years, these companies denied that any backdoor existed, but the leaked slides showed a partnership that allowed analysts to search through private lives with the click of a button. The sheer scale of PRISM was breathtaking because it bypassed the need for traditional individual warrants in many cases. It treated the entire user base of the internet as a pool of potential data points. It turned the cloud, the place where we store our most intimate memories and professional secrets, into a government filing cabinet. But PRISM was just the tip of the iceberg. While PRISM took data from the companies, another program called Muscular was taking it from the fiber optic cables themselves. This was a joint operation between the NSA and the British GCHQ. They realized that while the tech companies were encrypting their data for the outside world, the data traveling between their own private data centers was often unencrypted. Muscular involved physically tapping the undersea cables and the terrestrial links that connect Google's and Yahoo's private clouds. By the time the companies realized what was happening, the agencies had already copied millions of records every single day. This is the full-take philosophy of modern surveillance. The idea isn't to look for a needle in a haystack. It's to collect the entire haystack, digitize it, and keep it in a massive storage facility like the one in Bluffdale, Utah, until they decide which needle they want to find. It revealed that being secure on your screen doesn't mean your data is secure as it travels under the Atlantic Ocean. If you think your encrypted messaging apps are the final shield, you need to know about Pegasus. Created by the NSO Group, a private Israeli firm that sells its software to governments around the world, Pegasus is perhaps the most sophisticated zero-click exploit ever discovered. Most malware requires you to click a suspicious link or open a strange attachment. Pegasus doesn't. It can infect a phone through a silent iMessage or a WhatsApp call that the target doesn't even have to answer. Once inside, Pegasus has root access. It can read your encrypted signal and WhatsApp messages because it's seeing them on the screen before they are encrypted or after they are decrypted. It can turn on your microphone to record ambient conversations and track your GPS coordinates with meter-level accuracy. While the company claims it only sells to governments for combating crime, investigations have found the software on the phones of journalists, human rights activists, and even heads of state. It is a ghost in the machine that turns your most private device into a state-operated spy. Then there is the British program known as Optic Nerve. This is one of those programs that sounds like a dark social experiment. Between 2008 and 2012, the GCHQ intercepted the webcam feeds of millions of Yahoo users across the globe. They weren't looking for specific criminals. They were testing a face recognition system. Every 5 minutes, the program would save a still image from a user's webcam. The leaked documents revealed that a significant percentage of these images were highly private in nature, captured in the supposed sanctuary of people's bedrooms and living rooms. This was mass surveillance in its most literal visual form. It wasn't about what you said, it was about simply seeing you. It highlights a terrifying reality of the Internet of Things. If it has a lens and a connection, someone, somewhere, has probably written a script to look through it. In China, the surveillance state has moved into the realm of predictive policing through a system known as the Integrated Joint Operations Platform, or IJOP. This isn't just one program. It's an ecosystem of data that pulls from facial recognition cameras, Wi-Fi sniffers, and even smart electricity meters. The system uses artificial intelligence to flag irregular behavior. If you start coming home through a different door than usual, or if you stop using your front door entirely, the IJOP flags you. If you start buying more gasoline than the system thinks you need, or if you spend too much time with someone who has a low social credit score, the system triggers an alert for local authorities to investigate. It is the realization of the pre-crime concept from science fiction. The goal isn't just to catch a lawbreaker. It's to use big data to determine who might break a law in the future based on a deviation from their digital pattern. It turns the concept of innocent until proven guilty into suspect until the algorithm clears you. The United States has its own version of wide-area persistent surveillance, often referred to as Gorgon Stare. This is a sensor system carried by drones that can monitor an entire city simultaneously. Unlike traditional cameras that zoom in on one target, Gorgon Stare captures a massive, high-resolution image of a whole urban area. It allows analysts to rewind time. If a crime happens at 3 in the afternoon, they can pull up the footage, find the car involved, and then track it backward to see where it came from at noon, or track it forward to see where it went at 5. It is like having a Google Earth that is live and has a DVR function. While it was developed for war zones, the technology has been tested over American cities like Baltimore under the name Aerial Investigation Research. It represents the end of anonymity in public. Once you step out of your house, your movement becomes a traceable line on a government screen that can be stored for years. Then we have the Quantum Place programs, a suite of tools that the NSA uses to hijack your internet traffic. One of the most famous is Quantum Insert. Here's how it works. If the agency wants to infect a specific person's computer, they wait for that person to visit a popular legitimate website like LinkedIn or CNN. As the request for the website travels through the internet, the NSA's high-speed servers see it and race the real website to send a response. The NSA's response arrives a fraction of a second faster, containing a malicious payload that looks like the real site. By the time the real LinkedIn data arrives, the computer has already been compromised. This is a man-in-the-middle attack on a global industrial scale. It turns the very act of browsing the web, even safe, trusted sites, into an opportunity for state-sponsored infection. While we talk about software, we have to talk about the hardware level. This is where a program called Bull Run comes in. The goal of Bull Run was to intentionally weaken the encryption standards that the whole world relies on. The NSA worked to insert vulnerabilities into the very math used by security products. They influenced the development of hardware chips and software protocols so that they would have a secret key or a trapdoor that only they could use. This is arguably the most dangerous type of surveillance because it doesn't just target one person. It breaks the security of everyone. By weakening the locks on the internet so they can get in, they effectively leave the door unlocked for any other hacker who eventually finds that same flaw. It's a policy of controlled insecurity that prioritizes surveillance over the fundamental safety of the global digital economy. Let's move to the world of telephone metadata, a program known simply as Section 215. For over a decade, the NSA collected the metadata of billions of domestic phone calls made in the US. They argued that because they weren't listening to the content of the calls, it wasn't a violation of privacy. But as former NSA General Counsel Stuart Baker famously said, metadata tells you everything about a person's life. If you know that they called a divorce lawyer, a suicide hotline, and a cardiologist in the same afternoon, you don't need to hear the conversation to know what's going on. Metadata is a map of your associations, your habits, and your vulnerabilities. It allows the government to build a social graph of an entire population, identifying who are leaders, who are followers, and who are the outliers. It is the data that defines our social architecture. In Russia, the surveillance system is known as SORM, which stands for the System for Operative Investigative Activities. SORM is unique because the law requires every single internet service provider and telecom company to install a black box provided by the Federal Security Service, FSB. Unlike in Western countries where agencies might have to ask for data or tap a cable, SORM gives the FSB a direct tap into all traffic. They don't need to show a warrant to the ISP to get the data. The FSB just flips a switch in their own office and sees whatever they want in real time. It is a zero-friction surveillance model. This system has evolved into SORM-3, which can store all internet traffic for long periods, allowing for deep packet inspection and the monitoring of social media trends. It is a system built on the philosophy that the state should have total, unmediated access to all digital thought. We also have to look at the Stingray devices used by local police and federal agencies across the globe. A Stingray is a cell site simulator. It mimics a legitimate cell phone tower, tricking every phone in the area into connecting to it. Once your phone connects, the Stingray can see your unique ID, your location, and in some cases intercept your texts and calls. The terrifying part of a Stingray is that it is indiscriminate. To track one suspect in an apartment building, the device connects to every single resident's phone in that building. It is a digital dragnet. These devices were kept so secret for years that prosecutors would often drop cases rather than reveal in court how the Stingray technology actually worked. It's a reminder that surveillance technology often migrates from foreign intelligence down to local street-level policing with very little oversight. But the most encompassing program of all might be X-Keyscore. Edward Snowden described X-Keyscore as the widest-reaching system for searching through internet data. He claimed that from his desk, he could enter an email address or an IP address and see virtually everything that person did on the internet. X-Keyscore is essentially a search engine for the world's intercepted data. It indexes the cookies, the search terms, the social media handles, and the file transfers that have been hoovered up by programs like Muscular and Prism. It allows an analyst to say, "Show me every person in this country who searched for how to build a secure network or how to protest against the government." It is the Google for spies, a tool that makes the vast, messy ocean of the internet as easily searchable as a library catalog. It represents the realization of total information awareness, the ability to find any piece of data on any person at any time. Why do these programs exist? The justification is almost always national security and protecting the public. And in some cases, these tools have undoubtedly stopped horrific acts and captured dangerous individuals. But the terrifying aspect isn't just the intent, it's the infrastructure. Once you build a system that can see and record everything, you have created a turnkey tyranny. You are trusting that everyone who ever has access to that black box, now and in the future, will be a person of perfect integrity. History suggests that this is a dangerous bet. These programs turn the default state of human existence from private to recorded. They create what philosophers call a panopticon, a prison where the inmates never know if they are being watched at any given moment, so they eventually discipline themselves to act as if they are always being watched. This leads to chilling effects where people stop researching certain topics, stop joining certain groups, and stop expressing unconventional ideas out of a vague, persistent fear of the digital record. The technical brilliance of these programs is a testament to human ingenuity. The ability to insert data into high-speed packets, to map undersea cables, and to exploit zero-day vulnerabilities in smartphones is a peak achievement of computer science. But it's a science that has been weaponized against the very people it was intended to serve. It challenges the concept of digital citizenship. If we are forced to use these tools to participate in modern life, to bank, to work, to communicate, and those tools are fundamentally compromised, do we really have freedom of association or freedom of speech? As we look at the list, Prism, Muscular, Pegasus, iJop, X-Keyscore, a pattern emerges. The physical world is being mirrored in a digital space, and the state is claiming ownership of that mirror. They are looking for patterns of life. They want to know your social graph. They want to see your daily routine. This isn't just about catching a specific person. It's about having a high-resolution model of the entire population. It's societal engineering at scale. In some countries, this is used to enforce social credit, while in others, it's used to maintain stability. Regardless of the label, the result is the same: the end of the ungoverned space that the internet was originally supposed to be. But there is also a redemption arc in this story. The revelation of these programs has led to a massive push for end-to-end encryption. When PRISM was revealed, companies like Apple and Google were shamed into making encryption the default for their devices and services. Apps like Signal and Telegram rose in popularity as people sought digital sanctuaries. The war on privacy triggered a privacy renaissance. We are now in a coded arms race. Every time a government finds a way to tap a cable, researchers find a way to encrypt the data more effectively. Every time a zero-click exploit like Pegasus is found, developers patch the holes and increase the security sandboxing of our operating systems. It is a dynamic equilibrium. The existence of these programs should make you a skeptical user. It doesn't mean you have to throw your phone in a river and move to a cave, but it does mean you should understand the terms and conditions of the digital age. It means using a VPN to hide your traffic from local sniffers, using encrypted messaging for sensitive conversations, and being mindful of the permission bloat on your apps. Most importantly, it means advocating for transparency and oversight. These programs flourished in the shadows of secret courts and classified budgets. The only antidote to mass surveillance is public awareness and a demand for the rule of law in the digital realm. It's also important to remember that surveillance is expensive. It requires massive data centers, thousands of analysts, and millions of lines of custom code. This creates a natural barrier. Governments can full take a lot of data, but they can't full understand it. The sheer volume of information acts as its own kind of noise. Surveillance often fails not because they didn't have the data, but because they had too much of it and couldn't find the signal in time. This is the data glut problem. It's why agencies are now so focused on artificial intelligence. They need machine minds to do the watching for them. The terrifying part of government surveillance isn't just what they know about you, it's what they believe about you based on that data. An algorithm might see that you have contacted certain people or visited certain websites and label you as a risk, without you ever having a chance to explain the context. It is the dehumanization of justice. When we reduce a human being to a probability score based on their metadata, we have lost the essence of what it means to live in a free society. We have turned life into a statistical problem to be solved by the state. As we move toward a world of smart cities, neural links, and the Internet of Everything, the surface area for surveillance is only going to grow. Your heart rate on your fitness tracker, your speech patterns in front of your smart speaker, even your gait through a facial recognition camera will all be data points. The hidden meaning behind these surveillance programs is a fundamental question about the future of humanity. Are we going to be autonomous individuals or projected data points? The answer to that question will be written in the code of the next generation. Thank you for joining us for this intense look at the shadow world of government surveillance. It's a journey that takes us from the undersea cables to the devices in our pockets, revealing a global architecture of watching. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, but knowledge is the first step towards security. By understanding the how and the why of programs like Xkeyscore and Pegasus, we can make informed choices about our digital lives. We can choose to be harder targets. We can choose to support privacy-centric technology. And most importantly, we can maintain our awareness in a world that often wants us to just click accept and move on. The eye might be in the sky, but the code is in our hands. The future of privacy isn't just about what governments do. It's about what we do. It's about the small acts of digital resistance that we perform every day. It's about choosing encryption over convenience. It's about choosing anonymity over engagement. The story of surveillance is still being written, and we are all the authors. Make sure your chapter is one that you'd be proud to have on the record. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and always keep your firewall high. There's a vast digital world out there, and while it's full of wonders, it's also full of watchers. Be the person who knows how it works. Until next time, stay safe in the grid.